What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripes Show. We're recording this Thursday evening, not during the game like we did on Sunday evening.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I'm glad we didn't have to talk about that game, to be honest.
Yeah, I think looking back on that, neither of us really knew what was going on. We got a few things wrong in that pod, if you couldn't tell. Scott and I each had a few drinks that day. But yeah, so a drubbing this afternoon that we just got finished watching. Jose Trevino can't throw a runner out at second base, but he's good enough to pitch in the ninth inning of a blowout.
Yeah, and this is I know we pulled some stats on the numbers for the last three starts, including this one, but this one by far,
Talking about Heel.
For Luis Heel, by far was, I want to see what he does after this. We said this one time earlier in the season.
Oh, but this was really bad.
I know, but he came back and pitched in Toronto, if I remember correctly, after he got knocked around a little bit. Or was it knocked around in Toronto?
So he had a bad. His month of May was historic. To end April, he had that bad game. Bad for him. It was 2 2-run homers to Milwaukee, and he didn't pitch great against Toronto, although he didn't give up a lot of hits or a lot of runs. He just walked the ballpark and really couldn't find the plate. Then he was pretty much unhittable for the next 8 starts or whatever it is, 7 starts.
Yeah.
Then if you look at his last 3, this is the first one he actually got hit hard, crushed in. But his other ones, like we talked about last episode, that start against Boston, so many base runners.
Yeah, there were a lot of base runners. It was definitely trending in a bad direction. But what I was talking about was that Toronto game after he got hit in against Milwaukee was the one we were really looking at. How do you respond? How do you respond after you get knocked around a little bit? So that's, to me, what I'm looking at after this. Just looking forward a little bit to him. He's had a couple starts that have not been good. Obviously, this one was very bad. But I put the one in Boston up there with not very good, also because of the amount of base runners. Like they were hitting the ball around, and he walked 4 guys in that game, if I remember. So you're seeing, I'm going to call that adversity for him and what this season has been. To me, that's adversity. And then obviously today he got knocked around. I mean, he got knocked around. It was by far and away his worst start to date. But at the same time, that happens. That happens to aces. That happens to established ace pitchers. We're talking about June 20th right now. This is the first time that Luis Heel got knocked around in a game. If you told me that at any point, I would take it every single time. I would take it to be his second or third time out knocked around at June 20th. So the fact that it's his first one, really, I think that's a pretty good damn stretch for a kid that has gone, come back from Tommy John and has stepped in, to the highest degree to fill in for Garrett Cole and some of these other guys that have gone down.
So I'm looking at his game logs, and just so we're all aligned on the timing here. So actually, I forgot this. So his first 3 starts of the year were at Arizona, home against Toronto, then at Toronto. And that at Toronto start was the one where he was completely wild. He walked 7 in 5 innings, but he only gave up 3 runs for allowing 7 walks. Is ridiculous in 5 innings, and a lot of those walks came in the first couple innings. He had also had a little bit longer. I think he had 6 days rest in between those 2 starts. Remember, they didn't skip him, but I think they had like a rain out or something in there where they were able to push him. And then he pitched against Tampa and was good. And then it was that Milwaukee start to end April where he gave up the 2 2-run home runs. And then in May, it was just lights out. It was 1 or 2 hits a game, 6+ innings a start with 10 strikeouts a game. It was just unreal, unhittable. And then when you look at his last 3 starts, the one against L.A. was a good team, 5 2/3, 5 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk. Not bad. Obviously not bad.
Against LA, you getting into the 6th inning, you have an opportunity
game the
to
Yankees
get through.
were trying to win, not get swept in that start against LA. Boston, it wasn't terrible, but it was just a lot of base runners, 4 walks, 4 hits, 1 run allowed in 5 innings. And then today against Baltimore, every starter's going to go through this where you just absolutely have nothing and you get crushed. And man, did he get crushed. Haven't seen him actually legitimately get hit like that at all. He It was a 6-run second inning. He only got 1 out in that inning. An inning and a third, 8 hits, 7 runs. Baltimore was all over him.
All over him, and then, there was an opportunity for him to be able to find it and get out of there and potentially, because if he gets out of that inning, he's coming back out and, going to give a clean slate to see if he can't, find a groove at least to get the Yankees deeper into a game without going to the bullpen, because the bullpen was taxed. The Colt bullpen, the group of dudes out there that throw the ball after the starter. And he just, he hit a guy and couldn't, at that point you had to take him out. Because you have to also consider, and I know they were talking about this a little bit too, but he's a rookie. This is his first year. He's coming back from Tommy John. There's a number of things. It was really hot. There's a lot of things.
Today. It was disgusting today.
So there were a lot of things where, like, this isn't something that you can just ride. This isn't Carlos Rodon who comes out and is a veteran guy who you can just kind of let him eat it for a bit. You got to be a little bit more careful with him. One, for mental purposes, and two, physical purposes. You want to make sure that he's not out there laboring and getting himself injured when he clearly doesn't have it.
Yeah, so it was a negative that we're obviously mentioning it. One of the negatives of the series. I'm not ready to say Luis Hill sucks now. Let's like you said, let's see how he rebounds from this adversity. You mentioned the bullpen also. I think, ready to say this bullpen's not good. And what we saw in the first couple months of the season was a mirage. The numbers were good, but even when the numbers were good, you and I would get on this show and talk about it and say, I don't know.
How?
What's going on? They're not striking out a lot of people. There's so many base runners. Even if you just look at Clay Holmes, who had no earned runs into May, he was pulling Houdiniacs to get out of certain games. And you're like, well, that's not sustainable. And what we've watched for this bullpen through now June 20th is not sustainable, and it's coming home to roost. Last 11 games entering Thursday for the Yankees bullpen, 7.04 ERA, 3.06 batting average allowed, 22 walks in 30 2/3 innings pitched. And if you just look at Clay Holmes' last 15 games, 13 2/3 innings, 20 hits allowed, 20 hits. I know a lot of them are soft bleeders, infield hits.
Too many hits, though. It's too many hits for your closer.
20 hits in 13 innings, a 5.93 ERA. And even in the games where he's saving the games, the tying runs up or the go-ahead runs up, and you're like, God.
Yeah, he's been really bad, and this is why I haven't announced my closer song for him, because he doesn't fucking deserve it. Okay, I'm not going to talk about it.
As soon as you said that, it was like downhill.
Yeah, I have not talked about it. I did not. I just said that you can still go back and blame the bad song, to be honest, because I have not put out there into the world the very good song, the very good moment that this thing could be. Because he doesn't deserve it, and there's no way in a million years I would waste a song on this guy. 20 hits in how many? 13 innings.
20 hits in 13 innings.
That's insane.
You better hope they trade for Mason Miller so you can use the song on him.
Yeah, man, that would be awesome. But yeah, he does not deserve it. I mean, listen to this. This is what we were talking about in spring training. Also, when we're looking up and down this bullpen, and I'm like, man, the smell test here is not happening.
Pass.
Like something is not right. So let me read you.
There's a dead mouse in the walls of that bullpen. Okay, you're in your basement and you're like, I'm smelling something. I got to search for that mouse.
Okay, so here we go. After Luis Hill, we got Michael Tonkin, who, I'm not going to hate on the guy. He's on his 19th team this year, has pitched admirably. Got into 2 innings. Michael Tonkin. Okay, Tommy Canley. Fine, we know that guy.
We know that
Tim
guy,
Hill.
but has that guy been good?
He's not been the same guy by any means. I don't even know what that means anymore, because I feel like
he just throws changeups. That's all he does is throw changeups.
Yeah, he's not overly reliable. He's certainly not a 7th, 8th inning guy anymore, or at least he hasn't really shown that. Tim Hill, who was
I got something on this
released by the god-awful Chicago White Sox.
The White Sox were like, this guy sucks. The
Yeah.
Yankees picked him up, and Michael Kay is sitting there telling everyone, well, Analytics say this has been one of the most unlucky pitchers in baseball. And I'm not shitting on Michael Kay because I just know he got that fed to him by the production team, who got that fed to them by the analytics staff. And that's why the Yankees picked up this guy. But he then goes out and immediately gives up a 3-run bomb. And they're talking there like, oh, well, if Oswaldo Cabrera makes that play, maybe if Henderson doesn't run into an out at home plate, then it's like, okay, an out for an out. Dude gave up a 3-run home run because he stinks. He got released from the White Sox because he stinks, not because he sucks.
Then we got Raul Marinaccio, who he's got a 2.84 ERA. He ain't a 2.84 pitcher. Like, that's also a mirage.
I mean, how many innings? He
came in the game. Well, he's been up a couple times, but he came in the game last night and just looked awful. We're just giving cement mixers up. I mean, it was just like cement mixer after cement mixer after cement mixer. The bullpen was just throwing breaking balls in the middle of the plate, just spinning these bullshit things. I could go out there and do the exact same thing. It looked terrible. Victor Gonzalez, giving up another couple runs. Turd Ferguson.
Seem like Victor Gonzalez pitches every day.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not going to shit on Victor Gonzalez today because he's the one who drilled Henderson.
You think that was intentional?
100% it was intentional. It was a fastball, right? Yes, it was intentional, definitely. And it was Gunnar Henderson. It was their best player.
Ended up costing the Yankees the game.
Great. I'm happy. I'm happy that they did it. It was a good thing he should have done, and he did it. It's fine. And then you got Turd Ferguson, who comes in and just, sporting his 5.47 ERA, giving up a couple hits, 3 hits, 2 runs, and then Trevino, obviously, as we know, position player pitching. So
I don't think
the names in the bullpen are insane.
Insanely bad.
They're horrible. And this is how we started the season. Mm-hmm. We started the season with a bunch of dudes that were unproven, that, a lot of them have gone down to injury. Some of them have come up. Tonka has been
Loizico went down.
Picked up. Loizico went down. Marinaccio started out, and then he got sent down.
But Loizico's the only piece in the bullpen that they were going to be relying on who went down. But I'm not giving them a pass on that. You were going to be relying on a guy who's always injured.
Oh, 100%. Nor am I. There's a lack of talent in the bullpen, a significant lack of talent in the bullpen. And when you have a closer who is giving up 20 hits in 13 innings, you got a problem from top to bottom.
Contact closers. There's a reason they don't exist.
Top to bottom is a problem. Like that, it's a significant issue. So, and I know we got a couple guys coming back from injury. We'll see, and they're just they're adding the random pickups, the Tim Hills of the world, the Michael Tonkins of the world. Like, these are journeyman guys that are in a bullpen.
They're looking to eat some innings. That's all they're doing.
Yes, they are not. I mean, Tim Hill is a lefty submariner. He looks like Mike Myers out there, or Girardi called him Clay Rapata today.
He wishes he were Mike Myers.
It's
not an exaggeration.
These are not bullpen arms that are going to help this team win a championship.
I don't think it's an exaggeration to say they need like 3 new arms.
Yeah.
Cashman needs to get 3 new arms.
They need high leverage guys too.
Yeah, no, not 3 new Tonkins and Hills. 3 new leverage guys.
Yeah, they need high leverage guys.
That's hard to do.
They might need a closer. They might need a closer.
They might. Yeah, I mean, they might need a closer. But Clay Holmes is still going to be in the bullpen, and he would still be considered a high leverage guy, despite what we've seen for the last 15 games.
My point is that he could slide into one of those.
He could slide out into the 7th and 8th inning.
If this continues, he's not going to be able to be relied upon as a
can't
closing.
Give up 20 hits in 13 innings.
No.
As a closer.
So is he coming in different spots?
That many hits in any relief stints.
Then you need a closer. You need someone who can actually go out there with some confidence and close out a game and strike some guys out.
And the starting pitching staff, was so damn good, especially in May, but really in the first 2 months of the season. Mm-hmm. I do think it masked some of the problems in the bullpen.
Yeah, that's probable because they were getting deeper into games too.
And
it's not just they weren't just pitching well; they were pitching well and deep.
Now, as the bullpen arms are making their 15th and their 20th and their 25th relief appearance on all these guys, there's no masking it anymore.
Right, and you're seeing some struggles also. You're seeing some in the rotation with Heel. Even yesterday when you're looking at Cole, I mean, he's only going, we'll talk about this, 64 pitches. So you need to get half of a game essentially out of your taxed bullpen.
Cole's only a 4-inning pitcher on Wednesday, and then you get an inning and a third out of Heel. And now you're about to go into a Braves series.
Yeah, problem.
With this bullpen.
The bullpen budget is taxed.
Blow that shit up. Bullpen budget is just a giant dumpster. It's that dumpster fire meme.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Listen, learning another language can feel daunting, or maybe you just don't have the time that you think you need in order to do it. With Babbel, you can be speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Babbel is great because their convenient courses can fit into your hectic schedule. Lessons are only 10 minutes long, and they are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language. Babbel is designed by real people for real conversations. There is no need to pay hundreds of dollars on private tutors or waste hours on these apps that claim they can help you speak a new language. Babbel's tips and tools are approachable, accessible, rooted in real-life situations, and delivered with conversation-based teaching so you are ready to practice what you've learned in the real world. Babbel has over 16 million subscriptions sold for good reason. Plus, all of Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by their 20-day money-back guarantee. A special limited-time deal right now for our listeners. You can get 60% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Bronx. That is 60% off at babbel.com/Bronx, spelled BABBEL.com/Bronx. Rules and restrictions apply. Okay. The third negative from the Baltimore series. I feel like this is a week we could do 13.
We could talk about negatives this week. This is a warranted week to talk about negatives. We just got our asses kicked by the other division, the division foe. At home.
Jose Trevino is being exposed, and the Yankees' inability, it's not all his fault, but the Yankees pitching staff's inability to control the running game in tandem with their catcher, Jose Trevino, is a problem. And it has escalated. I kind of noticed it early in the season. I remember dropping in our chat at some point. I think it was a Toronto series. Like, man, it feels like Toronto's running quite often. Like, everyone in the lineup is running. But that game we recorded during on Sunday night, Boston stole 9 bags.
That's crazy.
That's embarrassing. 9 bags. And I gave Trevino credit for a throwout of Refsnyder. I was watching out of the corner of my eye on an iPad. I didn't see actually what happened. I just saw the end of a replay where Refsnyder was being tagged out at second base. That was a pickoff, okay? He didn't even throw him out. 9 stolen bases on Sunday, 4 more on Wednesday, but key ones, and a throwing error in the extra innings to allow the game-winning run to score. I don't know what has been figured out by opposing teams, but the Yankees cannot control the running game. And when it's just guys running wild on you, 9 stolen bases and then 4 to allow a game-winning situation on Wednesday from Baltimore, it's a huge problem.
It is a huge problem, and it Jose Trevino is going to get the lion's share of the blame. It was a bad throw that he went down to third. He should have put it in his pocket.
He tried to throw it over the hitter.
Yeah, it was a bad, and the batter 1,000% affected the throw. Mm-hmm. So you got to know where he is. Obviously, he has the right to be there.
He's just standing straight in the box.
He's not allowed to interfere or try to get in your way, but because he's a right-handed bat, and there's a play at third base, then you know that person's going to be there. And yeah, he sailed the ball because he tried to throw it. He didn't even try to throw it over him. He just threw it and it went above because the guy was in the way. I mean, it was a bad. You should have put it in his pocket. It was a bad play. But the pitchers also have to get better at holding these guys on. They have to affect the team, the coaching staff also needs to be looking at how to be able to control this. Jose Trevino throwing behind runners more often. That was something that I thought we were going to see more often this year. As the rules have changed, we know the advantage is for the base runner. The base runner has the advantage every single time. If you throw over 2 times, you know damn well that you're not going to be thrown over again because it's either you're taking the bag because you're not out, or you can take a suicide lead. So these guys are taking advantage of that, and it's just they got to get better at controlling the run game. outside the man throwing the guy out at the bag that he's going to. If they can somehow control the game a little bit more with the pitching staff, some slide steps, there's a number of things that you can do to throw off, especially against teams that damn well are going to, Cora is going to run. That's what they've been doing. They are an athletic team that has a lot of guys that will steal a bag. That's going to happen. You need to get creative and figure out ways to keep them and hold them at bay and not allow them to take advantage of all of the rules plus an inferior throwing arm.
Trevino in 45 games has allowed 32 stolen bases. Does that sound terrible?
How many games?
45 games, 32 stolen base allowed.
Seems like a lot, but it doesn't sound like egregious.
How about now? 4 days ago, it was 19.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
Right?
Piled on.
It went from 19 to 32 in 4 days.
That's crazy.
Like, holy shit.
That's what happens when you have a team that steals 9 bags in a game.
No, I know, but just like it's being exploited.
Well, that's the thing. Once you do that, the tape is out. The word is out. The boss has sold 9 bags against you. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens because they found something. They knew something. They realized something because Cora's a smart manager.
All right. Well, those are the 3 negatives. The 3 positives, you'll notice 2 of them aren't really positive. Garrett Cole's back. That is positive. Here's where it gets not positive.
64 pitches.
Why? Why did they do this? Why say ramping him up to whatever it was, 60? He threw 67 pitches, right?
Call it 70. Call it 70 because that's what it is. 67 pitches in the last start in AAA. Yes.
Yep. Okay.
So you're ramping up from there.
You figure, he's good for 80 pitches in his first big league start, right? 75 at least.
Yeah.
He threw 62 pitches, 1 batter into the 5th inning who got on. Boone comes out there, immediately pulls him. Boone said after the game, we weren't going to go over 65 with the jump up and adrenaline. Probably a little fatigued after the 4th, but wanted to get as close to 65 pitches as possible. What are you talking about? The jump up in adrenaline?
The jump up. Is it the jump up in adrenaline or the jump up and
jump
adrenaline?
Up and adrenaline.
So the jump up from AAA?
So what is the
talking
point?
About?
Yeah, what is the point of having pitch ramp up in AAA if you're going to throw that out the window in his first big league start? What in the actual fuck is that?
And it's not like they pulled him as they were approached. They pulled him in the middle of an inning. They pulled him.
He went out there for the 5th for 1 batter.
Yep.
Gave up a hit, and Boone's got to take him out.
Yep. And then what happens? Immediately, the runs are given up. Look, it's stupid. I don't get it. It makes no sense. This goes back to the fact that they're doing weird things with how you rehab someone, and we're going to talk about that again, unfortunately, because Jasson Dominguez now is. I mean, he might miss the rest of the season.
Oblique come after Tommy John, and then an oblique. 8 weeks. 8 weeks of shutdown. He's going to get a couple of at-bats in September. This guy is going to have basically no season this year, and he's going to come into next year hopefully healthy, and then we're going to have to start all over again with him.
Anyway, I don't understand. The ramp up, when you're ramping a pitcher up, when you go from AA to AAA to the major. This is Garrett Cole. This is the reigning Cy Young winner, a veteran pitcher who knows how to control himself and not, the adrenaline at Yankee Stadium and all these things. Like, you don't think he's able to handle that? You don't think he's prepared for that? He's a professional. He's the most professional of all the professionals. This man is ready for this. The fact that you're coddling him and pulling him at 64 pitches is asinine. And it was all over his face too.
What are you doing?
You could tell that he's like, what are we doing here? Am I a rookie who's coming off Tommy John and you're trying to be, treat me with kid gloves? No, you've ramped him up. Continue to ramp him up. He needs to be ramped up further. You got to get his arm into a prepared opportunity so that he can pitch longer into games. That means you continue to extend. He was pitching well too. It's not like there was anything that was there that says, "Oh, he needs to be pulled out."
I know. Well, you could see they showed that shot in the dugout, and he's like, "I want one more." It doesn't mean one more batter. They meant one more inning. Yeah. I just don't I don't understand what the point of having a ramp up in pitches in the minor leagues are if you're just going to ignore that because of adrenaline and ramp up in the major leagues. Okay, so if you were going to do that, why start him against Baltimore at home? Because that's a big spot. Start him against Kansas City on the road.
Yeah, well, I think the Cody Petit injury had nothing to do with it. I know people are saying like, well, the Cody Petit injury. That decision was, I think, made before he was going to start this game. The whole point is the fact that they didn't let this man pitch to the ability that he has.
So how many pitches is he good for
pitches.
next?
I don't know. It might go back to 50. Who knows?
Exactly. No, but like, is it going to be as if he had a ramp up start here, so he's good for 85 pitches, 90 pitches next time, or are we only looking at a 10, 15 increment next time?
I don't know. Where's the game? What time is the game? Who's the opponent? Because
the temperature.
It might be a little too hot. It might be a little too exciting if it's a night game. You know, maybe if there's more cameras on, that could be too much. It depends what he has for dinner the night before. Is his kid's birthday coming up? I saw him waving to his kid. That was a nice moment. You know, there's. Here we go. What's he lining up for?
Against the Mets.
Oh, see, that's too much. It's an interleague series? Are you kidding? Or a Subway series?
How's he going to handle that?
He can't. He lives in Connecticut, and he's going between the boroughs here. You can't do that. What are you expecting? He's going to opt out and go to the Mets.
Against the 35 and 38 Mets. It's too much. Too much for him to handle.
So I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with that. The explanation to me made no sense. And again, this just goes back to the fact that they're monitoring and pulling Jasson Dominguez out of defensive innings just so that he's, working himself back in. Maybe that's why he strained his oblique, because he's not able to actually get a workout in.
He wasn't stretched out enough.
Jesus Christ.
It's very frustrating. All right, the number 2 positive, this one actually is a real positive. Giancarlo Stanton clutch on Wednesday, and he's been very good recently.
Volpe was also clutch, for the record. Very clutch. The man got on base.
Stanton.
I know. I just needed to say it because you were shitting on Volpe earlier today, too.
3-run homer and the game-tying hit for Stanton on Wednesday night. Last 7 games entering Thursday, 393 batting average, over an 1,100 OPS, 3 homers, 9 RBIs. Late and close spots, 290 batting average, 313 on base, 893 OPS with a 159 OPS plus. Stanton, for the most part this year, has been good.
For the most part this year, he's been phenomenal.
Well, I mean, he can't run.
I could give a shit. I really can't.
He went through a bit of a lull there.
They all go through lulls. It's baseball, Susan.
So lulls I said for the most part.
He's been very good.
Very good. You dropped the P word, phenomenal? Or is it an F?
It's a P. It's a PH. He's been absolutely phenomenal. When we saw what happened last year.
I literally was thinking in my head, wait, is that actually an F?
When we saw what happened last year, to see what this man is doing this year,
phenomenal compared to last year.
He looks like the real Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, he's approaching a 40. He's on pace for 40 home runs, which is part of my.
When Andy Martino was on the show back in February, he said he picked Giancarlo Stanton for his player of the year, comeback player of the year.
Yeah,
and I mocked him.
Yeah,
but it looks like a pretty good call.
Yeah, I mean he's turning on the fastball. He's getting base hits. He's locked in, and as we know, when this man is right and hot, he's one of the most dangerous hitters in baseball when he's hot, because he goes on torrid streaks. Swinging that axe.
He's going to have to keep it up, because with Dominguez out, there's no more conversation about, who you calling up, who you taking out of the lineup for Dominguez. Like I said earlier, this 8 weeks of shutdown for Dominguez and then ramp back up. He's not playing in the major leagues this year.
He might play at the very end of the year when September call-ups happen, but yeah, he's 8 weeks is putting him out. Out and they're going to be very careful with this.
8 weeks is late August. 8 weeks is late August, and he's going to go through another spring training essentially.
Yeah, it's really terrible. It's terrible for the kid. It really is, because he was playing well for all intents and purpose. He was playing well and looked like the situation was weird, because it was going to be very interesting to see how the Yankees were going to handle him, as the summer went on. where he was going to play, how long he was going to play, how often he was going to play. But they obviously don't have to make that now. Who are you worried about? Spencer Jones.
No. I'm worried about Jasson Dominguez being an injury guy.
Yeah. Well, maybe the Yankees need to just let him go. Well, he does lift a lot of weights.
Just let him play the field normally, like a baseball
Let him play
player.
the field. Yeah, let him work himself back into it. Lay off the weights, maybe, also.
All right, well, speaking of injuries, the last positive is that Aaron Judge is not seriously hurt. There was a moment Wednesday where you're like, broken finger, out for 6 weeks.
Broken hand.
Here we go.
That was the meat
Yeah.
of the bottom of the hand that certainly can snap. It's not like that's a well protected area. So thank God, because that's
He said he had flashbacks to when he was hit there in 2018 when he did break I think he broke his pinky in 2018.
Yeah. And that's right there. Like if that ball catches a little bit more of his hand,
yeah,
it's hitting that same bone.
Yep.
It's hitting that same bone. So it barely hit, and it looked like it just hit enough of that meat. So he was probably really sore.
Right.
That tendon in there and was probably tight. So people were crying about him having a day off. Like, I have no problem with him having a day off to let's see how it reacts after the day, because swelling can go down, or maybe it doesn't go down, and then you have to look at it. But obviously he was feeling okay.
I know people were upset that he wasn't not that he wasn't in the lineup on Wednesday, that he didn't pitch hit late in the game on Wednesday in 2 clear opportunities where you would want his bat at the plate.
Yeah.
Boone today before the game said he wasn't definitely starting. He went through his pregame routine to see how it reacted, and then came into his office and said, I'm good to go. So I'm actually, in this case, defending the decision not to pinch hit him on Wednesday, because it wasn't definite that he was starting on Thursday. It was, we're going to see if you can start on Thursday, but there's a chance he starts his pregame routine on Thursday and he's like, no, my hand's sore, I can't play.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's when you rely on your player to tell you what's up. A guy like him, if he's able to, if it's a pain tolerance thing, if the doctors find no structural issue or anything wrong with it, it's just a matter of like a bruise, and he's got it'll hurt a little bit if touch is a pain tolerance thing, like then it's up to the guy. You got to figure that out.
It's just looking, optically, it can be frustrating where there's a game-winning situation on Wednesday evening at 9:45 at night, and he's not hitting, but then Thursday at 4:05 p.m. he's in the lineup. I understand why there's frustration.
And it's against the reason it's heightened is because it's against Baltimore as well. If it were a different opponent, then I don't think many people are saying or up in arms the fact that he's got he's going to sit after he gets hit in the hand. And the 4:05 start is a weird time to start a game in the first place.
I'm not talking about the time of day, literally. I'm talking about.
No, I know, but you have a night game and then a day game. So like there's if he's missing some time, or they're going to let it rest. There wasn't a lot of opportunity for it to rest with the 4:00 start the next day. So they're just it's 24 hours. Like, I'm fine with it.
We talked about coming into this series, got to beat Baltimore at home, big game, and they didn't. And now they're 2-4 against Baltimore this year, and they're 1-2 against Boston. Not that Boston is a great team, but they're 1-2 against Boston. They're 1-2 against LA. They've mopped the floor with the AL Central and the AL West, and they've lost to some teams that are competing with them in the division, and a team that you could very well see if you get to the World Series. And so that's a little frustrating. It's also a little bit of a cause for concern.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and obviously you want to see the team beat good teams and not just win against an AL Central opponent who had good records walking into the series, but as we're realizing, we're just not fundamentally great baseball teams, and especially pitching staffs, because the offense of the Yankees feasted on them. They need to start winning. They need to start winning series against teams that are good. So for confidence and on the fan side of things, but yeah, they leave this game still in first place, still right there. Garrett Cole's back, so there's a lot of still positive things to look at as they're tracking forward. But they got to be able to close out good teams, and they got to be able to beat good teams.
Also 1-5 in extra innings.
That's a problem. That goes back to also the bullpen.
Do you know what that goes back to? Other than the bullpen.
The bullpen and not being able to execute late in the game offensively.
And who's managing the team?
Aaron Boone.
Mm-hmm. So I said that I was going to be reading text messages from my dad as part of the, we got a mailbag question asked. My dad today texted me, even when the team was playing well, I still felt they will never win with Goonie. Spelled Goonie. That is his nickname for Booney. For Boone.
Why does he call him Goonie? I feel like that's
because he's a goon.
Because he's a goon? He's not a goon, though.
He's dumb.
I feel like a goon is like an enforcer.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no.
Hockey is like the goon line. It's an enforcement line. That's why I see it. Or dumb. Goonies, I'm thinking of, from the Goondocks. From the Goondocks.
All right. Well,
I will say this real quick. When Girardi's on the broadcast, part of me is like, I know he has a shit-eating and grin on his face when things are not going well. I know he does, and he's just like so light in the seat and just like having a great time. Even though like the world is the stadium on the field is on fire. He's just like, what a great. It's what a beautiful day.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I get it. Well, like I get it. It's just it's kind of funny listening to him just having lighthearted stories and just like yucking it up in the booth when shit is going bad for Aaron Boone. It's kind of funny.
Did you hear him talking today? I actually found this really interesting. So when Henderson got thrown out at the plate in whatever inning that was, Kay asked Girardi, "How would you handle that situation if you were the manager?" Did you hear this?
Yes, I did. You mean as a young player who read the play wrong? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, and he said a lot of things that I feel like is what Aaron Boone does. Love the aggressiveness. Oh, did you get a bad read there? What was your read? Like that kind of thing. Instead of, hey, dumb decision. Hey, dummy, don't do that. The infield's in. Heads up baseball here.
Yeah. So what he was talking about is a situation where you have a young star player, best player on the team. The kid is, one of the better up and coming players in the league, and he actually said that he wouldn't say anything to him during the game. He would say something afterwards, and maybe a bench coach or somebody would say something to him there. But it's more about finding out why, which I appreciate. Why? What was your read? What did you see there? And then acknowledging that it was a mistake, because that's what he did. He acknowledged that it was a mistake and that they're going to make mistakes, but you got to learn from those mistakes and make sure that when you're reading something, that's a teachable coaching moment for a guy like Girardi who can say, what did you see? And then there's an answer that's dumb. And he's like, well, infield was in, no outs, probably want to stay put there. Right? Yeah. So you have a young player teaching opportunity, which Girardi is more of that professor on the field, I would say, whereas Boone was like, he would just slap him on the ass and just not have a teachable moment and probably not say anything constructive that would help him the next time. That's the difference between the two of those guys. One of them's a teacher. The other one is just like trying to be cool.
Yeah. I did find it interesting though, how he talked about that. If you are looking for Yankees Braves tickets this weekend, you should definitely be using the Game Time app. I even feel kind of bad mentioning this because I was on the Game Time app earlier today and I was just looking and they had something called a super deal. It was like bolded for me, popping out of my face. Section 111, guess how much money? All in pricing. Section 111, lower level, like two sections before the right field foul pole. Saturday night.
On Saturday night, that's a $160 ticket.
$72 all in pricing for a ticket. That ticket has to be gone at this point, but that is one of the reasons I love using Game Time because it calls out great deals that it thinks you might like. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, meaning buying tickets to baseball games on Game Time is faster and easier than ever. The app has so many great features. I just mentioned the super deal, but also flash deals so you can see where the best deals are and where they're trending, all-in pricing. Select this option so you're not hit with surprise fees at checkouts, and the seat views. If you've never sat in section 111 before, you can see what that's like. The app is so streamlined and easy to use. Game Time is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for sporting events, but you can also find tickets for concerts, comedy shows, theater, and much more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less money, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use code BRONX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, download the Game Time app, create an account, redeem code BRONX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. That is a great deal.
It was a great deal.
All right, bad news on Gleyber. Left today's game with tightness in his right groin.
Cool. So here's the thing.
Cool?
It's not cool. I feel like you were giving me a nice pause to almost throw in your like, oh, well, someone else will come and play because the Gleyber's hurt.
No, listen, as much as I hate on Gleyber, who's going to fill his shoes? It's not going to be better than Gleyber.
Yeah. It seems like the Rizzo obviously is down because that's one that we haven't talked about.
We did not talk about this. There's a mailbag question. Can I read that quickly?
Yes.
James Greenspan. Oh, no, you tried reverse jinxing Rizzo, and he broke his arm. Too far.
Yeah. I got nothing but love for Anthony Rizzo personally. I think he's a great dude. I want him to do well because I like him. I like the player. I like everything about him. I really do. It's a shame that he has not played well. It's a shame that this was a weird injury too, like a kind of a collision that he fell.
Look like his arm. When I heard he got a fractured arm, I was like, wow.
He landed on it weird, I guess, and it compressed it or something. I don't know, but it's an unfortunate injury because it's really, this is one of those moments for him where he's trying to fight back. He's trying to swing the bat well. He's obviously struggling. He knows it, and now he's going to be shelved for the majority of the summer and not
6
really
to 8 weeks, but transferred to the 60-day IL.
Yeah. So this is an opportunity for a guy, Ben Rice, who I've been following since AA. This is a dude that,
which was 2 weeks ago.
Nah, I called this out over a month ago.
He was in AA 2 weeks ago, though.
Yeah. But this is a guy that I've had an eye on. He's been smashing the ball in the minor leagues, and it's very clear. He's already putting up relatively similar production to Rizzo over the past 2 days that Rizzo has given us.
The other day, Rizzo.
Yeah, but ripped the ball down the line. There are going to be obviously opportunities. This kind of plays into my theory of what's going to happen next year with Cashman and Steinbrenner really looking to lean on some of the younger players and hopefully not spend a lot of money on certain positions because they want guys to come up and they can spend in other areas. Ben Rice is a big piece of that, or whomever is playing first base. But Ben Rice, I think, is obviously getting that first crack at it, and he's going to be there. But what this is doing now, if you have Gleyber out of the loop, you have Rizzo gone. You now have LeMahieu playing third, second, and first. And he's not playing well offensively.
He's not doing any of it well.
He's not. He can still play defense. He'll always be able to play defense.
He's not hitting.
But he's not hitting, and that's an issue. So now we're approaching a trade deadline that is getting very interesting. It's getting very interesting because you're looking around the room and you're like, okay, things have been really good this year, even though we haven't had Garrett Cole. The offense has been playing really well. Our guys are hitting. The pitching staff has been phenomenal. The bullpen has been decent as far as the numbers and such. But now you're coming up on this trade deadline. You need a first baseman, depending on what happens with Gleyber here and what goes on. A groin, which that could be a problem. That could be a big problem. You might need a second baseman and you need a third baseman because you got injuries across the board.
3 bullpen arms.
And 3 high leverage bullpen arms, not bullpen arms that can come in and fill some space. You need guys that you can count on at the end of a game to win a close game against a good team. You can't bring in Tim, whatever the hell his name is, to get lucky or unlucky or Tim Hill.
Tim of the Hill.
And throw from 4 inches off the ground as a lefty submariner to get real outs in a real game against a real opponent in a high leverage time. You can't do it. So you're looking at 5 to 6 players that these Yankees are going to need while everything is going really well. And I'm not dismissing that. I'm not dismissing the fact that everything is good as far as the record and
but
where they are.
What you're saying is if you don't do this, it's not going to continue to go well.
It's not going to continue to do this. You're not going to be able to keep this up. Not going to be able to keep this up. You know, is Giancarlo Stanton going to continue to hit like this for the entire season? Maybe.
But
Unknown.
Even so, like you said, our guys are hitting. Obviously, Judge is hitting. Soto's been hitting all year. Volpe has been hit.
Very good.
I'll give him credit. Volpe's been hitting this year, and Stanton. 4 guys. The rest of the guys have not been hitting.
Verdugo,
Those four guys. Verdugo. Okay. Let's grant those 5 guys because at certain points this year, those guys have either been fantastic, contributed in big ways, or just been consistent rock solid. In the case of basically Soto, he's been consistent rock solid all year. Judge has been the hottest hitter in baseball since the start of May. Stanton's had some huge moments. Volpe has been scorching hot at points, and Verdugo's had big hits. That's 5. That's great. That's the majority of the lineup. But it's been 4 no-shows offensively other than that.
Yeah, and when you have a guy like LeMahieu who's coming off of an injury and you are relying on him at this point because you are heavily relying on DJ LeMahieu right now to play multiple positions. Ben Rice, you know, who knows what we're going to get from him? He was in like you said, Double A a couple weeks ago, and they're looking to him to take the starting first base role for the rest of the season because that's kind of what's in front of him right now. There's a huge opportunity for him right now, but we'll see if he's able to do that. And
you know what the crazy thing is?
You got to make moves.
You know, they're going to give Ben Rice some time here. Say it's a month in.
They have no choice.
No, I know, but say it's a month in and he's hitting 203 with a 615 OPS. Everyone's going to be like, you got to get a first baseman. You got to get a first baseman. When that's what they were going to just put up with from Rizzo all year. Because that's what Rizzo was doing. And they were just going to put up with that all year.
Well, I think the thought is that Rizzo was not going to do that all year, that this is not the makeup of this player, and that he's going to be a better player. Well, you can look at that with a guy like Rizzo who has done it in the past, rather than a guy like Ben Rice who we've never seen, is unproven. And granted, he's had a really nice year in the minors. It is projecting well, hitting the shit out of the ball. And very well could do it.
25-year-old in Double A, like that's an old Double A player.
Yeah, but we've talked about this. Like he wasn't. There was no rush to bring him up. It's not like he was a highly touted prospect. He's excelled in the minor league system and has earned the call up. He earned this call up. It wasn't like he was an anointed guy that was coming up to be the next first baseman of the New York Yankees. He was a catcher for half the time in the minor leagues as well. So this is a guy that they're, you know, had split time this year in Double A and Triple A at first base and catcher, and now he's in a position to play catcher full time.
First base full time.
First base full time because Rizzo's out and DJ LeMahieu needs to play two other positions.
Yeah, I mean, I think depending on what happens with Glaber, hopefully it's a day-to-day thing and he's back soon. But DJ would slot into second base, and then you'd have a rotation at third base.
I mean, he's part of the rotation also.
Well,
I think what you do is you're most likely bringing up someone to play second and keeping LeMahieu on the corners because they have second basemen who can play. They have guys in the minors who can play second base, that are more major league ready than there's anyone at first or third, outside Ben Rice, obviously. But you need LeMahieu. You need that glove. You need that glove on the corners. Where's that glove more important, at third and first or second? I say the corner.
And I think, I remember saying this last season when we saw things start to trend downward. Like, let's not wait until July 30th. Why wait here? If opportunity exists and is around, and again, like, we'll see what's going to happen as far as them spending dollars on people too, because these aren't like people. These aren't players that you're going to. We just said 3 high leverage pitching. Sorry, you got to put up with Clay
guys.
Holmes' 20 hits and Turd Ferguson pitching high leverage spots in the 8th inning because Hal can't go over budget.
But that's what we're looking at. You're looking at guys who are either going to cost a lot of prospect cash or are going to cost salary.
Definitely a lot of prospect capital is going to, if they're going to make a run by adding pieces this year, a lot of prospect capitals are going to go out the door.
And they just got rid of what 10 pitchers in the offseason. They're in a tough spot.
Listen, I'm not saying punt on the future, but you have an opportunity here.
Point is, they've gotten rid of a lot of their higher leverage guys that they can trade away for pieces too. So it's not like they're chock full of high leverage, highly touted prospects that they're willing to get rid of.
Right.
You look at Spencer Jones. That's who everybody's going to be coming after.
Listen,
that's who everybody's going to be coming after.
Yeah.
Spencer Jones is going to be the guy. And then when the Yankees need 5 pieces, what are you going to do?
Okay. Well, if you sign Juan Soto for 15 years and you actually think Jasson Dominguez, when and if he ever gets back on the field, is a future all-star caliber center fielder, and you have Aaron Judge,
has no position anyway,
and you have Aaron Judge, yeah,
all right, then you make that move. You better goddamn sign Juan Soto, though.
You better goddamn sign Juan Soto. The Braves are coming in, definitely not having as great of a season as a lot of people would have projected for Atlanta. They're still 41-31, second in the NL East. The Phillies have had a great season. They're 7 games up on the Braves. The Braves are 13th in batting average, 14th in WRC plus, so pretty middle of the road offensively. Ozuna is having a great season, 898, 989 OPS. I feel like that's the second time I've done this where I've read numbers incorrectly. 989 OPS. 8th in ERA with a 3.59 team ERA. The matchups are Carlos Rodon against Chris Sale, who's having a really good season.
Crazy.
Marcus Stroman versus Charlie Morton, who's still pitching. And Nestor Cortez versus Max Fried. Good pitching matchups.
We're getting their best 3, I believe. So it's not going to be not going to be easy. It's going to be a really tough series, especially with the bullpen in the shape that it is currently. It's going to be tough. The starting pitchers,
good amount of pressure on Carlos Rodon on Friday night.
Yeah,
to have a good start and pitch
and go deep. Yeah, it's absolutely needed because the bullpen's in absolute shambles right now. Can I back up for 1 second before I forget this? I'm sorry. I'm looking at the prospect rankings of the Yankees right now. I just to take a look again to see who we're looking at. Jasson Dominguez, injured. Spencer Jones, Chase Hampton, who is he hurt or is Will Warren hurt?
Your MLB pipeline?
Yeah, I'm just on MLB.com. One of the two of those guys hurt. Then you got Arias, who's a shortstop. You got Everson Pereira, injured for the year. George,
wow, he's still their 5th ranked prospect.
Yep. George Lombard Jr., who is years away. He was just drafted. And then you're getting down into the Clayton Beaters of the world, who's at number 13, and there's just not a lot here that's worthy of getting high leverage guys at this point with what the competition will be also offering up. They gave up a lot in the offseason, and I'm not saying that wasn't the right move. I'm totally fine with that move. It's a matter of them having to, back up the Brinks truck, sign Juan Soto, but at the trade deadline here, unless they're spending more dollars, which they will have to do, there's just not a ton of prospect capital. So yeah, you're looking at Spencer Jones. You're looking at Spencer Jones and a few other guys, but there's not a lot there that's going to get them players to put them over the top. I think it's going to be a problem.
And yeah, so those elite high end bullpen arms are going to be in demand. They're always in demand at trade deadlines.
100%. There's going to be competition for them, and in the past,
Baltimore's going to be in on that. Baltimore's going to be in there because
they should be. They have a billion high leverage prospects.
I was just going to say they have 5 times as many high leverage prospects as the Yankees do.
Yeah. So the Yankees, looking at just in the minor leagues also, Brian Cashman has a tall task in front of him, a very tall task in front of him about, trying to either, and clearly what they're doing, you see what they're doing right in front of us right now. They're picking up scrap heap and trying to turn it into something on the bullpen.
Darts. They're throwing darts.
That's a problem when it's happening in June.
Yeah. And I did give Cashman benefit of the doubt entering the season on the bullpen because that's been his number one team building.
Too many of them, though. I was saying that the whole time. Too many of them. 1 or 2 guys.
You can count on 1 or 2 a year, but you can't have 5 or 6.
No, and they made the trades for Victor Gonzalez and Turd Ferguson. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. All right. Couple mailbag questions before we wrap up. If you want to submit yours, go to or submit at info@bronxpinstripes.com. I really can't talk. My brain just shuts down at 9 p.m. now. Alex Tancredi says, "Hey guys, I've been listening to the podcast since 2017, and I've recruited a handful of BP Crew followers over the years. We're all big fans of the pod. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, this is my first mailbag though, and not even baseball related. I promise I'll get on it. Scott, I heard you talking about your beer incident at Old Dominion. I wanted to share mine from Atlanta Airport, flying back from a conference. I curiously tapped the bottom of the glass with a full beer in it, and the entire IPA spilled out onto me and my boss. Oh, shit. He was with his boss. Right at the bar in a packed airport just 30 minutes before our flights. And have IPA, too, IPA bath before a flight? Jesus. Needless to say, the bartender had a lot of fun with me after that. Point is, your advice warning about these is very warranted. I had never seen one of those before, and here I was getting roasted by a random Atlanta airport bartender. Really, it's not a good idea. What happens when you accidentally put the glass down on something that opens the floodgates? Cheers, boys, and go Yanks. P.S. I grew up in Paramus. Spartans, better than Maroons all day. He's living in Troy, New York now, near Mike Guazzala."
So yeah, we talked about this last week with the magnets on the bottom of those beers. Yeah, I understand. Maybe it's easier for some people to like pour. There's no foam. It's a in theory a good pour. It's a problem. It's a bigger problem than anything. There's way too many people that have the rogue pinky underneath that just does things and lifts it up. It doesn't take a lot to lift up 12 ounces or 14 ounces, whatever it is in those cups. So yeah. I appreciate you writing in, Alex, and yeah, keep it coming, man.
All right. We already read James's about Rizzo, the reverse jinx. Kevin Sweeney says, "Guys, I'm going to see the Yankees play July 4th at Yankee Stadium. Is there anything more American than that? Addition by subtraction on Rizzo. Best, Kevin."
Yeah, so Susan will be there with her vest. Unfortunately, John will not be there.
He should make an appearance.
Maybe he'll just go. It's his birthday. You know, he and George have the same birthday on the 4th of July. So yes, it's extremely American going to a Yankee game then. And Susan
last year they didn't even play on the 4th of July.
No, just this year they didn't play on Memorial Day.
Yeah,
weird. But she'll be there with her glitter on, I'm sure. That vest is a 10 out of 10.
All right, AP Gosh.
You want me to do this one?
Yeah, please. I'm dying.
Okay. What's up? AP's I know has been listening for a long time. He's written in quite often. Pretty sure he's been to some events too. Hey guys, long time listener. Thank you so much for all the great content. Also super happy you're bringing back the game day events. Really did miss them. So I know I shouldn't be too concerned with Soto's absence from the Dodgers series, but it did concern me a little bit how flat our offense looked without him in the lineup. We all know what Soto brings to a team, but more importantly, he seems to teach our hitters behind him how to read opposing pitchers through his own at-bats. I've been noticing that if he lays off a close 3-2 breaking ball, Judge, Doogie, and Stanton will either take the same pitch or sit back on it and have success because they just saw how Soto approached the at-bat. So my question is, should we be concerned with signing him, long-term deal, and depending on him and Judge to stay healthy for the majority of their careers rather than learning his approach, saving money, teaching it to guys like Spencer Jones and Dominguez when they come up? I'm probably overreacting, but history of our botched long-term contracts makes you wonder. Love you guys, AP. Okay. You're overthinking it way too
Very much so.
If you are paying a guy a lot of money, in theory, it's because they're a good player. In this case, he's a very good player, and you pay him the money. And if you're worried about the two of them getting hurt, well, that's any player at any time, at any point. So, yeah, that's in the wind. He's a guy that does play all the games. He knock on wood, has stayed healthy for the majority of his career. It's what he does. But I do agree, like the approach thing. It's not necessarily that he's teaching them. I think that there's some obvious learnings from Juan Soto.
We don't know what's happening in the video rooms and in the dugouts.
100%. But the approach and the fact that he is spitting on balls, the fact that he's seeing more pitches in general, that just allows these guys to see how things are breaking. That's why, forever, the Yankees had a leadoff guy that was able to take pitches. But, I remember when Brett Gardner was the leadoff guy. Like, he would work the count and allow the guys who are hitting second, third, and fourth to see a full repertoire of pitches almost when he's up at the leadoff. That's the job of the leadoff guy, to pass it forward. So you have Volpe, who's taking more pitches this year. You got Soto, who is one of the most controlled batters at the plate in Major League Baseball. Of course, it does help. And the conversations in the dugout, I'm sure, are absolute gold because they're all talking about their approach. They're on the same team. These aren't things that you can just teach someone and say, go do this now. This is something that, you watch the guy, how he handles himself, how he takes batting practice, how he gets to the stadium, all of the things. These are things that you can soak in, and of course will have a very positive impact. I think Garrett Cole is the same way on the pitching staff. A positive impact in how these guys operate, and having someone like that, you put Judge in the same category. It's a huge positive for the rest of the guys around you because you're surrounding greatness with other players who have good talent, and you should absorb greatness when you're around it. There's no doubt about it.
Listen, I don't know what Soto, how much he's coaching other players or giving advice and tips and tricks. He maybe a lot, maybe nothing. But Soto's approach, I think, is applicable to everyone in the lineup, whether you're Volpe, whether you're Stanton, whether you're Glaber, whether you're Jahmai Jones coming off the bench for an at-bat. That approach, grinding pitches, is applicable. Whereas with Judge, I'm not knocking him. He's a freak. Okay? Yeah. It's hard for some guys in that lineup probably to relate to Aaron Judge's approach at the plate and Aaron Judge's preparation for games and all of that, because he's 6'7" monster who hits the ball 500 feet.
Well, and to that point though, Juan Soto also a freak in the bat to ball in the way that he can do things, but he's also he's a complete hitter.
He hits to opposite field.
As does Aaron Judge.
Yes.
But you're right. The body type of Aaron Judge makes it a lot more difficult to you can absorb all of the things that he's doing and the way that he does it and the approach and all of the intangible stuff. Like, those are all very important pieces of how you become a very good player. And then Juan Soto, the way that he approaches his at bats, he's also a freak in the way that he can see the ball. But he allows other guys to be
700 walks was the third fastest in Major League Baseball history.
But to what AP is talking about here also, like, the ability to just see pitches allows the other guys to see more pitches. And when you see more pitches against the opposing pitcher, it puts you in a better position to hit the ball. So it directly affects him, the other players, in a way, because you're making the pitcher work.
And I've said this before, but I also think him playing every day, aside from the Dodger series, also has had a positive impact
100%.
On other guys in that lineup.
You think twice if you're raising your hand because you're a little sore from the night before, or if you're having one more beer at dinner. Like, you're thinking it because Juan Soto's in bed.
Judge had one scheduled off day this year. It was the first Kansas City game. I feel like in past years he would have had 3 by now.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of that is Judge saying, I'm not.
Yeah,
don't take me out.
Yeah,
if he's not doing it, I'm not doing it.
I think there is a little bit of that. There has to be.
Maybe it's given Judge a little bit more of an opportunity, and the fact that he's got the captain label now, obviously he's got the ability to dictate more of what he's doing. And because if the way that I interpret Aaron Judge and the way that he plays and the way that he wants the game, he wants to do exactly what Juan Soto is doing. The man wants to be in the game every day. He wants to be in the highest leverage situation. He wants to be in every single game. He wants to be there for his teammates. Like, he's that guy. He wants to play every single day. It's the powers that be that go a little extra precaution with him because of who he is. But you're right. When you have a guy like Juan Soto who's done it outside Yankee pinstripes, he's got to do it again. Like, this is how I operate.
And despite Soto's struggles on some line drives this week, AP, there is no consideration to not signing him if you're the New York Yankees.
Zero consideration. You must sign him.
It has to get done. Last one, Evan Macbeth. How do you rank the radio play-by-play announcers since Sterling retired? Ricky is great, but I find myself really liking Emmanuel Berbari. I think I heard him last night. I think he was on the broadcast.
I don't think he was on. I think there was somebody else on the.
It was a fourth guy?
I think it was a fill-in. I'm not sure. I got to be honest. I got 2 comments. They're all too green. They're nothing for me. I think Emmanuel wrote for Bronx Pinstripes for a minute. To be honest.
No, he didn't.
I'm pretty sure he did.
I'm pretty
sure he did. I've talked to him at some point. I know I have over the last however the hell many years we've been doing this. He might have been in high school at one point and like reached out.
I don't even know what this guy looks like.
I know exactly what he looks like, and I think he's good. He's professional. He's got these guys to me need their own style. They need more style. I need more style. For a radio play-by-play guy, I need more style. That's just it. They're a little too buttoned up and a little too. I just came out of college and I have my announcer voice. That's what it sounds like to me. So I don't love them right now. I think they're doing fine, and I think it does take time for you to get that confidence to get your own style. I'm sure John Sterling in his first however many years, had to learn that and grow into it. So I kind of plead the fifth on this one. I got to give them time. But I don't really have a preference, to be honest. And I don't think any of them are the long-term guy either.
It's tough.
You're following a legend.
It's an impossible follow. I said this a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I agree with you. I can't handle the super polished radio announcer. I really just it's just nails on a chalkboard to me. I need someone who sounds like they're just having a conversation with me, talking to me about what they're seeing rather than announcing what they're seeing. And I know that might be a nitpick.
That's not a nitpick. That's a real thing.
It's really distracting for me, and I almost find myself focused on that rather than listening and consuming what's happening.
So I've definitely multiple times, if I turn on I haven't had the radio broadcast on all that much this year. In past years, I've definitely, and I like, very frankly, like the fact that John and Susan are not together on there, like, doesn't make me want to go to it,
I used to enjoy putting them on even for an inning every night just to hear them. Yeah,
exactly. But every time I do it, I like go back and make sure I'm going to the right feed, because I feel like I'm on the other team's feed, because every time you do that, like it's always been, and I got to say the thing with Michael Kay and the Yes Network too. Like, Michael Kay is a seasoned broadcaster, has conversations, doesn't give you that broadcast voice. Whereas you go around to other teams, and like the majority of other teams, you get like the canned ham type of,
because they're on these regional sports networks that are probably changing announcers every 3 or 4 years, just riding on through. It's like Fox Sports South. It's like, ugh.
Yeah. So I think they're in a very difficult spot, and I hope that they don't get discouraged and that they try to find their own voice. If I were to give advice to someone on that, I would say find your own voice. Like, ditch the stock voice of a broadcaster.
It's been beaten into them for probably a decade in broadcasting school and journalism school and everything.
Yeah. Well, gotta take some chances.
And people might be surprised, like, by me like, I know I've said I love John and Susan, and they might have just think I was doing it for, like, a joke or whatever. No, as much as I would make fun of them, I genuinely loved them. There's
also a nostalgia factor there. There's a nostalgia factor there of them calling games. So that's a huge piece of this as well. Again, the guys who were coming in, not to mention they were thrown into it in the middle of the season. Like, this wasn't a planned thing.
Not middle of the season.
Or beginning of the season. Yeah. So it's not like you're coming in like preparing for this. And it's a rotation.
Sure this is being used as a tryout of some sort.
100% it is.
Who's resonating?
You know who I always thought was going to take over? I always thought that the next person was going to be Sweeney. I always thought it was going to be Sweeney, because Sweeney would do the post game every night with Susan, and would come in and do that. And he has a really casual. He's been around the organization forever. Knows the Yankees inside and out. Has the historical context. Can tell the stories. Knows everybody. Knows the team. Knows everything about it. And he didn't have that broadcast voice. He
wasn't
just has
more. When he would, I feel like he would
fill in for games.
He would do more color commentary, though. I feel like.
I don't remember, but he would fill in for games. What, Susan doing play-by-play?
No. I think that, I don't know.
It was
obviously Susan never did play-by-play, but like I remember
Sweeney absolutely could do it.
Fill in, and
I think it's a missed opportunity for them to not look at Sweeney for this. I think Sweeney would be very good at it.
Do you remember back in the day? I know we're going to wrap up soon, but when it was Charlie Steiner and John Sterling, they would alternate innings calling the games.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
They would be the color for the other guy when he was leading it. It would be like Sterling would do the first inning, Charlie Steiner would do the second inning.
There's two talented guys that could do that. It doesn't happen all that often. That's fun. It makes it interesting.
I forget, but back when Michael Kay was on the radio broadcast, I don't remember if that was the same setup, though.
I don't know if when they were on ABC, it was 77-70 ABC. I don't remember. I was young at that. I don't remember, what the A Mike B Mike situation was for those guys. I would assume that Sterling was doing play-by-play and Kay was kind of coming in, because Kay was coming up. He was coming into his own. But certainly learned a lot from John Sterling and learned to distinguish your own voice.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with it. If you guys want to submit your mailbag questions, do so at info@bronxpinstripes.com. Thank you guys so much for submitting yours. Scott and I will be back at you again after the Braves series. Are they doing Sunday Night Baseball again? Is this like three weeks in a row, Sunday Night Baseball?
I'll tell you in 1 second here. I haven't
looking it up.
We got it right here. Let's see how fast I can do this. I don't do anything fast when you tell me to look something up. No. We got a 1:30 game.
Great.
1:35 start.
Sounds lovely.
1:35 start. Maybe we can yeah, that's great.
Still record Monday morning, but yeah.
We'll see. I'm coming back that day from a little quick little beach trip, so
nice.
We shall see. Monday's off, and then we got the Mets for 2 games.
Right, which would be one of Cole's starts, which is going to be super amped up.
At Citi Field. He's got to go all the way over to Queens.
He's only going to be able to go 3 innings.
It's going to be a problem. They better have someone. Maybe they just do him an opener.
All right, we'll talk to you guys after the Atlanta series.